Thank you for being on the show, Dave.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. It's great.
My guest, Dave Smalley. We got to go down the list. Every time I say your name, I have to say DYS, Down by Law, All, Dag Nasty, and the Farmhouse 5.
The Farmhouse 5, that's the latest and hopefully among the greatest.
Yes. You have your own
it's
standard,
a cool project.
and great is understood.
It's just my own twisted definitions, that's all. It's always funny, they'll ask my kids, what does it feel like to have your dad be so famous? First, after they're rolling their eyes is done, then they just say, he's really not that famous unless you're into punk rock. Like, he goes to the store and does everything else and gets treated like crap by the cashier, just like everybody. So...
At home, are you extremely vocal at home? Are your vocal performances on record a surprise to your children?
Yeah, they're surprised because I would never yell at my kids. It's just not in my DNA. I save all the yelling for the studio and the stage.
Oh, that's good.
Get out all the angst.
Mm-hmm. That's probably perfect.
Yeah.
So can you catch us up? Let the listeners know sort of where you're at now and what's going on for you musically at the moment, Dave.
I'm just got back from a 2-month-long Down by Law tour, which was really fun but really exhausting. That was the most touring in a row, one tour that I've done in a long time. It was pretty great as far as the actual playing aspects of it, but the amount of touring, the amount of shows, because there were, like one day off a week, if that. It was pretty tiring. Like I say, when you're on tour, you do it for the 1.5 hours that you're playing every night.
Sure.
That's why you do a tour. At least for me, I know there's other people who like to do all the partying and all that stuff, but that's not really my big thing. So for me, it's just playing and meeting people beforehand, talking with people, getting to hear some new stories about, life, and writing your own new stories as you go on crazy adventures of a tour. But, it's that 1 hour, 1.5 hour period that is the reason why you do it. So it was good, but it was tiring. And now I'm back from that. Let's see, I guess the next thing, we just got back from some DYS shows as well. DYS played with Sick of It All and Madball, and that was one of the shows. And then the other show was Sick of It All, Madball, Agnostic Front, and H2O. And that was a great lineup. I was like my dream lineup, and I was getting to be, part of it. So it was really, really great to see a lot of old friends like Roger from, AF and Lou from Sick of It All, and everybody. And I like all those bands as people and as bands. So it was a great experience for that. And then DYS has a couple of shows in November in Hollywood and in Orange County, California, to coincide with the release of the Boston Hardcore movie out there on the West Coast.
Oh, right. Yes.
Screenings of that. So we're going to play a couple shows there with Antidote and some other bands.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
What's the thing that you do first when you get home from a tour now? And what did you do first when you got home from a tour when you were a youngster, let's say?
It was definitely a little easier when I was a youngster, but I'll tell you what, I was kind of proud of Down by Law, all of us. We've got guys in the band that range from, sort of mid-20s or late 20s to my age, which is late 40s. And you've got a wide range of it. Everybody held up and everybody, did well, because it's grueling to tour that long, even, when you're 25. It's a tough thing to be on the road for hours and hours and hours and, sleeping in a strange bed every night and being exhausted at the end of the show every night. It's not whining or complaining to say that, because it's a real blessing to be able to do it. But,
that's just the realism of what goes on tour.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people hear, these guys are whining about being able to be, make music and everything, and it's not that. It's just, I think that when you see a band, it's probably good to appreciate, especially like a punk band, not like, the U2s or whatever of the world, but the street-level punks that we represent, and so many of the friends and bands that we love represent. It's not all peaches and cream, but it's great. I wouldn't trade it, but it's... So long story is, that's a long answer to your simple question. Sorry about that. I would say when I would get back younger, I would be ready to go out again. Right now, I'm thinking, man, I don't want to go out again for a long time, at least on a full deal. Just do some weekend shows and see my family and, pet my dogs and write new songs. Kind of live a boring, straight existence for a little bit. It sounds pretty appetizing to me.
Which bands are you writing new songs with?
Well, that's a great question. I'm writing songs almost all the time on and off with Sam Williams from DBL. also with the DYS guys, we're working on some really great stuff that I'm really excited about. I don't know if you know, but Franz Stahl from Scream and Foo Fighters is in DYS now. So, you've got John Anastas, who was in Slapshot, and obviously DYS, and me and Franz. Al Pahanish from Powerman 5000 is playing drums. A young guy named Adam is playing lead guitar, and the lineup is just really congealed in a way that is really exciting musically. So I'm really excited about some of the new stuff that DYS is doing.
Was that the lineup for the Superbowl of Hardcore?
Yes.
Yes,
yes,
okay.
It is.
Awesome.
Yeah, everybody was there for that.
Yeah, it was a great show.
Which I thought we had a pretty potent show and felt really good. And I was another one where I was like looking at that lineup and I was thinking, man, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I get to see all these bands and play on stage with them, and there was a great lineup of bands and great people who put it on. I was really, really happy to be there with those guys.
We have a question from a guest who wants to know if you still have that Doug Flutie football shirt.
I honestly don't know if I have the Doug Flutie shirt, but I can say that I still love the Eagles, BC Eagles, and Doug Flutie was. I don't think I have. I don't know if I have anything specifically from Doug Flutie, but I did get to meet him, and he commented on my spiky hair, and we talked for a couple of minutes about how I got my hair to be sticking straight up, and he was really genuinely interested. He's like, "How do you get your hair to do that?" And so I was telling him, and
of all the things to talk to Doug
first
Flutie.
time when he looked over at me, I'm like, "Okay, here's Doug Flutie looking at me. He's the god of the school and the entire state of Massachusetts, and then here he's looking at me. This is not going to end well,
Yeah.
And I was just predicting, 5 football guys were going to show up and just thrash me or something.
Oh.
No, he was totally cool, totally nice, very interested and respectful, and so he ended up proving himself to be a really nice guy.
Oh, that's cool. That's good to know.
Yeah.
So where you are now, would you have been able to foresee having such a long music career?
No, not really, or at least not in the punk world. I kind of came up singing in church choirs and in musicals and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, first music that I did was in a church choir, and then I had a 5th and 6th grade teacher who I actually dedicated a Down by Law album to, named Mrs. Zolby, who really saw that she saw that I enjoyed singing, and so she really encouraged me, and we did classroom musicals, and she would really push me to stretch my wings. I sang in musicals all through junior high school and high school, and so if anything, I would have thought that would have been a direction I might go, because I liked doing all of that stuff. I liked acting, even though I wasn't a very good actor, but I liked it, and singing and stuff. So if you'd asked me back then, will you be in the arts at all, I would have said, yeah, I might become an actor or a Broadway type. But then DYS ruined me. So, yeah, and if you ask any of the guys, I think in 1981 or 2 in DYS, do you think you'll be playing shows in 2012 and people will still be supportive of what you've done? We would have thought that was crazy.
And be in a valid band.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we just thought we were just 4 or 5, depending on the lineup. We were 4 or 5 kids, didn't really know what we were doing. That was part of the joy of it, and I think that translates into some of the joy of what those early bands across the American hardcore scene had. There was a certain innocence. Like if you listen to the first Adolescence record, or if you listen to, I don't know, Wasted Youth, or you listen to Minor Threat or Teen Idols or Government Issue, the early stuff by any of those groups, and you can go on down the line of so many hundreds of great, great groups. The joy of it was, in part, the joy was the innocence and the fact that there was no career goal. There was no intention to do anything but light the firecracker in the mind of America and try and run away in time so you didn't kill yourself,
And you really did. I mean, lyrically, when people think about the hardcore era, your lyrics really do come to mind as being bold and speaking for, a generation, and now more than one generation. What else matters for you now? Has your subject matter shifted as you've grown?
Oh, yeah, I think so, definitely. I think it'd be weird if it hadn't, and people sometimes are mean to those who don't stay the same. But then the problem is the bands that do stay the same and don't evolve at all, they also get grief for not having changed and not having evolved, So it's sort of a no-win situation for the artist. I think, like the Ramones got grief when they did End of the Century because it was a departure, and it had Phil Spector production on it, and how dare they, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's sort of an interesting thing. So I think as you grow, you at least for me, you definitely have to change, and not change like reverse, but I mean evolve and see things through different eyes. Things that affect you when you're 40 that didn't affect you when you're 20. Paying bills. I think if you listen to a song like "Twisted Again" from Dag Nasty on Minority of One, and that song is all about dealing with the realities of life, bills and relationships that are difficult, and stuff that when you're at a younger age don't really matter so much. That's one example where I would say, I think I feel more aligned with the real problems of the working world now, than I might have when before I was trying to change the entire world, and now I'm just trying to say, hey, let's treat each other well and remember that we're all one human family while we're trying to make things better.
If you had, let's say, like $100,000 to give away, what cause or what would you do with it?
Oh, man, that's a great question. I think I would probably give some to, there's a particular animal rescue organization that I love. They're called Ricky's Refuge in Orange, Virginia, and they are a no-kill animal shelter, and they're really great people, absolutely volunteers, and they have everything from emus to pot-bellied pigs to dogs and cats, and they just are such wonderful, loving people to these animals, and these animals live a healthy, happy life. So I think I would give them some money. I'd probably give some to arts programs, both artists like painters and sculptors and whatnot, and also to the theater arts. If there was an organization that would be able to particularly funnel those to high schools, I think, because that's such a critical time for young people who are finding their strengths and their joys and their talents. And as budgets have gotten tighter and tighter, a lot of theater arts programs have had to cut back. So I would probably give a big chunk to that. And maybe another thing that Jonathan and I have talked about from DYS, Jonathan and I have talked about trying to help out punk rock community people who are in trouble in different ways, either dependencies or have been through illnesses and don't have medical coverage. Now, I've already spent way more than $100,000 with all this talk, but those are some organizations that I would like to help.
Oh, that's cool.
I'd like to help.
I just wanted to see where you're at and what matters to you. We're assuming that your family matters a lot, and
yeah. But if I had $100,000 to give away, I'd be really delighted to be able to do that. That would be great.
One of our listeners wants to know if you have a day job.
I do. Yep. I have a day job. I go to work every morning and stay late every night when I'm not on tour. And yeah, I'm a working man. I'm a writer, and I write and edit for a couple different places. So I'm no different, and I get up in the morning and do the slog to work when I'm not on the road.
You're just not writing lyrics, but you are getting paid to write.
Correct. Yeah. A lot of it is editing too, like editing articles and things like that. It's a lot of fun. I really love my coworkers, and we have a great time together, and they're really respectful and supportive of the things that I do, and I'm very lucky to have a bunch of good people that I get to be with all the time.
You are lucky. You are here as a guest DJ, so I want to ask you about your first cut, why you're playing it.
Okay, now I'm not sure of the order of what I sent you, so I can't remember what is our first cut.
Okay, it's AC/DC, Jailbreak.
Oh, there you go. So, yeah, well, I tried to pick songs that I wouldn't be here without, and at least groups that I wouldn't be here without. I think for me, you could pick literally almost any AC/DC song from the first 5 records, and I could tell you where I was when I first heard it and what it meant to me and all of that. I think AC/DC is a group that defines, to me, almost everything that is good about rock and roll. It's tough. It's got amazing catchiness. It drives you. Like, if you're feeling down, there's no way you can feel down and put in an AC/DC, CD or on your iPod or whatever and not, like, perk back up, It's one of those groups that just makes the world a better place through rock. And to me, I definitely would not be who I am and where I am without AC/DC. They're one of the best groups in the history of rock and roll, if not the best. And I'll tell you, one of my fondest memories is in DYS, working out and lifting weights and cranking up, Metallica and AC/DC and Motorhead and Venom and just and Discharge and GBH for the punk side and some early Black Flag, But AC/DC, that was the one. For me, that's the catalyst. That's the without which everything else falls. And Jailbreak is one I love because it's not a typical one that you hear on the radio all the time. You can hear Back in Black or For Those About to Rock and a number of other songs, and they're great songs. But Jailbreak, I love that it has a story, a narrative, and the riff is just killer. Angus Young is all the two young brothers, and Bon Scott and Phil Rudd, and it's a great band, from start to finish.
And they make the world a better place.
Yes, they do.
AC/DC. All right, then. So my special guest here is Dave Smalley, and he is picking the tunes for the day. We are starting off with some AC/DC. Please stay tuned.